Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Far Out Wisdom Podcast. I hope that everybody's having a wonderful day. And remember to breathe in and breathe out. Oh, my goodness. Everything is going all over the place at the moment because I'm in the process of moving out of California, baby. It's going to be very difficult to move at the fact that I have to put everything on hold at the moment. But it is what it is. So I did a live stream with V, I believe almost a week ago. So this is the recording of the episode that we did. And I believe there was 5 minutes that was gone. So this is the unedited version of it. I'm not going to do anything to it. It's just me and V having a conversation about everything from life, California, politics, communism, typical stuff that we do together. We didn't even plan this. It just happened. So before I let you guys go to enjoy this discussion that we have with each other for 2 hours, make sure to check out our sponsor, Rebecca Eigen for ShadowDance.com. She will provide you with all your information about your star chart, about your shadow, about your 7th house that would help you in your relationship, especially your relationship and your job. And remember to check out Podbean. I am the affiliate, so if you want to host a podcast and would like to you made the decision moving from Anchor and stuff like that, make sure you click the link down below, because the moment that you do that and sign up for Podbean, I get paid for it. So check out our sponsor, check out our affiliate, Podbean. Everything that you do, it provides, it's a support to FOW. So remember to donate, subscribe, like, share, love, do whatever you got to do. And as always, guys, stay far out. Bye.
On yours, so
yeah, so I'm just gonna hit record. But anyways, it happens, and I think you're used to it. I mean, you've been doing YouTube for how long? Hold
on, let me just click start here. There we go. See, I'm streaming, you're streaming, we're both streaming.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been doing YouTube for I think 6, maybe 7 years now.
Yeah. And so I remember you used to do a lot of streaming and stuff like that, but it gets really difficult because the fact that you have to work to each other's schedule, like you and I. It took us a while to record again, because I think the last time that we record with each other was last year, because our time difference is just so off.
It's not really the problem. At least on YouTube, you can get a community guideline strike for stuff your guest says.
Really?
So yeah.
Oh,
so I can, Tim Pool got a community guideline strikes because of what Alex Jones said. And apparently they even misheard what he said. So I think it was a figure of speech or something that he said. But,
okay.
And it makes people paranoid. If I just free flow it, I know I'm not going to say anything crazy, but I don't know, I can get a person and they can say an edgy joke, or they can say something that's politically incorrect, and then I can get a community guideline strike on my channel.
Damn.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't really have a conversation openly anymore like you used to. I mean, when I used to watch YouTube, majority of the people that I watch were edgy. They make edgy jokes and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't see that anymore because the algorithm, they push it down. I mean, they lift up, other content creators. Like for example, your numbers kind of dropped. From what I see, I think you said you your shadow ban or something. I don't know if YouTube does that. Do they do that?
I mean, okay, so no, not really. There is edgy content. I mean, if you listen to bread tubers, they say a lot of edgy shit all the time. America deserves 9/11, said Hassan Piker. If you get people like Vosh, calling women cunts and whatnot, it's if I were to do that, I would probably, at least have my channel demonetized. But the thing is, they're not shadow banning you. But if you look at YouTube, they only promote news from authoritative sources. So by doing that, they automatically put everyone else at the bottom of the search algorithm.
Right.
And on top of that, you can't really make the content that stands out because, as you pointed out, like a couple of years ago, like 3 or 4 years ago, a lot of people were edgy and they were making jokes and memes that everyone wanted to go on YouTube because it was funny. It was like Beavis and Butthead. But now you can't have that. Like if you were to upload any episode of South Park nowadays, it would get community guideline strike after community guideline strike. The only reason it does it is because the rules aren't being applied equally.
Right. And what do you say to people that don't believe you when you say that? I think Hunter Avlon, he doesn't believe. I think he was like him and Sargon Akkad was at a I think like a show or something that they did together, and then Hunter make the argument that the conservatives are not, getting kicked off of social media and that they're, it's an imagination or an illusion of some sort.
I mean, YouTube outright claims it. They outright claim that they rank channels and they prop up authoritative sources. I don't really think it's like necessarily they're going after conservatives. I think there's like different tiers of people on the platform, and the corporations are number one. I mean, they value corporations, and then they have like special creators that they care about. I mean, for example, the YouTube CEO went and spoke with this like guy that I don't know who he is. I'm pretty sure like some people know, but he was like this rich fellow living in a mansion and stuff. Mm-hmm. And everyone was baffled. It's like, why didn't she go for someone more renowned? Like, what's his name? Philip DeFranco, or, it's someone that like the community knows. Like these were very esoteric individuals with channels that weren't doing quite well, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
Hold on. Like people can't hear you.
They can't hear me. I have to talk closer.
Mm-hmm. No. I think it's something to do with the audio device. Hold on. It's very annoying because on YouTube, it's there's a delay between people speaking and the chat reacting. So by the time I get the feedback from the chat, it's like,
I have to like talk really super close to the microphone, properly.
Hold on, audio output capture.
I think a lot of people, like I think Michael Malice, he said the same thing, that his chat was freezing, and that it was a lag from people, and they were complaining that because Michael Malice, what he does is that they give him like money and he answered their question that along with the super chat, and he was like, "Why am I getting this so late? I mean, this is a comment that was like an hour ago," and I don't know how YouTube works.
Yeah.
Also,
no, I figured it out. But anyway, right, so. The thing is also like the terms of service that social media has. So one of the big conservative talking points was about the lockdowns. Right. People aren't questioning whether or not they work. They're questioning whether or not it's okay to send someone home and unable to feed himself and his family. Like you're sending him off work and okay, he's not dying from COVID, but he's dying from famine now. It's so. Yeah, like that is something that the TOS didn't like. And it's like, okay, but that's a conservative talking point. That's a mainstream one. Mm-hmm. And there's other examples like that where they like flat out decide, all right, well, this is a mainstream conservative talking point, but we're just not going to let it happen on our channel. Right. I don't know of any left-leaning talking points that aren't allowed on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Like mainstream, just normal, basic bitch, progressive talking points. I mean, you
basic bitch.
Yeah, you can even like go infringe progressive talking points. Like you can talk about appropriating wealth and seizing the wealth from the 1% and starting the communist revolution, like arming the proletariat. Like you can go all out, and YouTube doesn't give a crap.
It's like the Borat. It's like the majority of these people they claim to be Marxists, and then they're like. I'm pretty sure your audience and what I'm about to say. It's like, if the corporation's on your side, you're not the fucking resistance. Come on.
Oh, absolutely.
The bourgeoisie is not on your side. But I think you remember when our first stream, I don't know, it was like the second one, I think, we were talking about like Asian parts being sideways. Somebody So one of my very progressive friends from New York was like, this is the reason why a lot of the Asian violence is happening because of people like you. I'm like, what does that have to do with anything? And if you guys don't know, is a lot of Asian Americans are getting attacked here in the United States of America because of COVID-19. They were talking about how like it was Trump's fault, but a lot of majority of these violence against Asians has been happening for quite some time. I mean, if you're going to put like a different group of people together, that's going to happen. You know what I mean? Like they're really surprised because I made a video and I target Viet Thanh Nugent. He is a Vietnamese American novelist, and he won many awards and stuff like that. And I called him out last year in May for bailing and, you know, the rioters and the looters. And I told him, I really don't appreciate it at the fact that majority of these businesses and stuff like that are Asian American as well. And as a refugee from Vietnam, wouldn't you be more, you know, sympathetic towards the Asian business owners? So he wrote like this whole post and he called everybody, including myself, very racist Vietnamese. I'm not Vietnamese. I'm Cambodian. Totally fucking different. So I made a video on YouTube and I call him, you know, Viet Thanh Nugent is an idiot. He is. I mean, he's playing all this narrative of, you know, like the critical race theory and stuff like that. And if you guys don't know, or V, you don't know, the Vietnamese and the Cambodians don't get along really well. It's a lot of racism along that area. And I told him, I go, let me switch your tweet around and say Vietnamese supremacy, because that's what the Cambodians and the Laos and Thais believe. We believe that the Vietnamese are, well, not me, but from when I grew up, that the Vietnamese were working with the Stalinists. They were working with the Soviet Union and like practicing imperialism. So I switched his thing around. I'm like, if us Cambodians did the same thing and play that role, well, technically Vietnamese are like the supremacists here in Southeast Asia. You know what I mean? Yeah. And he don't see it like that, because I think he refused it because of the fact that, you know, he is around a lot of these woke journalists. I mean, he writes for the New York Times. But the thing is that when it's a Southeast Asian person playing that critical race theory bullshit, I'm going to call it out. And I hope everybody calls it out, but it's just ridiculous. And like when it's POC on POC crime, it's like, you know, it's like these SJWs, they can't believe such thing exists.
Oh,
I lost you.
Yeah, they made a new word for it. It's colorism.
What?
No, I'm not kidding. Look it up. POC on POC crime is called colorism.
I mean, it's like when it's POC on POC crime, it's like the reason why Cambodians and blacks hate each other is because of white supremacy. Like, what is it? Where did that?
Yeah, I saw that article. Yeah, no, I mean, to me, the thing that you said from your American mindset is very saddening. It's like, okay, businesses are burning, but like these are Asian businesses. Like, because like you're trying to reach through his ideology and try to make him care, because he doesn't care like the business is operated by a human being or, you know, a countryman of his. No. It's like, yeah, he doesn't care about that. So you're like now trying to reach his sensibilities by going, it's like, okay, but what about like your identity? Like it's part of your identity culture. Like, don't you care? Yeah, it's so messed up. Like you shouldn't even have to do that. Like people should immediately look, okay, well, that's a business, right? So if the business goes burning down, all the employees now are out of a job, and I wouldn't want that to happen to my business. I wouldn't want to be fired because, you know, my place burned down or something like that. But apparently, like, empathy doesn't exist anymore. Someone super chatted me $5. JV Tonda says, ask her how many needles she dodged on her way home.
What?
Well, there is this thing in California.
Oh my God, dude. You guys don't even know about. Okay, so like I said, I live in Fresno, so I live right here in the Central Valley. And then our governor came and he was talking about like how he's going to open California and stuff like that. And so what's happening is Gavin Newsom, he's getting recalled. I pretty much did my thing. Let's see what happens. I'm not really sure what's going to happen, but everywhere is starting to look like San Francisco. And I feel like the Democrats didn't want to call him out because the fact that it's blue no matter who. And the funny thing is,
hold on. How did Arnold Schwarzenegger? He was red, right? How did he manage to win the election?
Well, they recalled Gray Davis. He was a Republican, and then after that, Arnold Schwarzenegger he replaced him. I think generally, you know, Arnold Schwarzenegger, he's like a typical like not classical liberal per se, but like he's like an old school Democrat. Like when you see like JFK and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
I heard he was actually quite good. Like a lot of Californians tell me that he wasn't bad, and
No,
I think it kind of makes sense. I mean, he already had money, he already had fame, and it makes sense that he just wanted to, do something good for the state. I don't think he wanted more power or fame or anything because he already had those.
yeah, and like he wasn't that bad. I mean, when he was governor, I don't remember much about him, but I remember Governor Brown. Before Gavin, not Gavin Newsom, Newsom. And so the thing that really screwed up California was the high-speed rail. That's incomplete. It's not going to finish. We spent so much money on that everything else suffered in California. But the thing is that Biden is starting to like open the borders and stuff like that for, immigrants and stuff to come in. It's like, it doesn't make any sense, V. I really don't know what's going on in California. And I really at the point where I just don't give a fuck anymore because they're so right at the moment they fired 250 public officials, and that includes firefighters and policemen, right?
Why did
policemen.
They fire them for like
because of COVID? So you would think that we need those people, especially during this time. But Newsom, he released a lot of these prisoners and stuff. It's he released them under the impression that they're nonviolent. So these are like petty crime. So, like in San Francisco, the crime rate went up to 65%. But you don't see mainstream media talking about that. So,
yeah, I mean, it makes sense. Like if people can't feed themselves by going to work, I mean, they're not going to starve to death, are they?
Oh man, dude, San Francisco looks really bad. I was there like the other day. A lot of homelessness, a lot of businesses closed. It doesn't even look like. It doesn't even look like San Francisco. Like,
no, I'm not gonna lie. It looks worse than Romania. And Romania, yeah. I mean, I don't consider my country to be that bad. I mean, there's far worse nations than Romania, but it's definitely middle tier. Like, it's not comparable to France or Paris or Germany, but like definitely middle tier country. And I look at San Francisco. I saw some footage from there on the internet, and I'm like, okay, fuck, I wouldn't want to live there.
Yeah, even like Seattle, dude. So, Seattle's the same thing. They pretty much, it's the same progressive policy like in San Francisco and stuff like that. It just doesn't work. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't work. It's kind of all right to call it out, but every time like I call it out, I get accused of being a white supremacist, a white nationalist, a fascist. What I'm seeing is like you guys gonna call me that by what I'm seeing every single day. And like, dude, the cartels, they're like taking over the Central Valley. I mean,
I don't get it. I don't get it. Like the people indoctrinated that call you white supremacist and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
Don't they see the same things? Like, don't they suffer the same issues? Do they live in other places where this doesn't affect them?
You know what? Like, majority of these people that are like woke are like in LA and San Francisco, not in the Central Valley. Like, we're very working class. It's pretty much we feed the United States of America. That's where a majority of our like farm food and stuff like that come. And they don't see it because the fact that they're protected, like if that makes sense, like they're very rich. You know what I mean? Like people like
so
Vosh.
They live like in gated communities.
Yeah, I think Vosh is from Beverly Hills, right? Am I wrong? I don't know. Where
I
he's
don't know.
From.
I don't know. I don't want to speculate, but yeah, no. Like if they, I noticed this. Like people who live in security and in gated places, they think everywhere is the same, and their lived experiences applies to everyone.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you will notice this in Sweden as well. It was the areas that received the bigger crime rates that were voting quote unquote right wing, and it was the areas that had safety and policing and all of that were voting progressive.
Isn't like with France that like Emmanuel Macron, he was like the ideology of American like the philosophy of America with critical race theory is like dangerous to France, from my understanding.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, because I mean, how do you explain that American politics, okay, regarding BLM and whatnot, and how do they frame it? It's like police shooting unarmed Black people, okay?
Right.
How does that apply in France, where France police officers don't have weapons?
They don't? They don't carry weapons? In France?
Wow. No, as far as I know, I think they have like the different division that do carry weapons, like the anti-terror units or whatnot. But like the average street cop, as far as I know, doesn't carry weapons. And if that's not the case, like if they carry weapons in France, I know 100% that in the UK they don't. Mm-hmm. So, in both these places, UK, France, Germany, I think it was even like in Eastern Europe and in some countries, you had BLM protests, and they weren't like they weren't like in support for the United States or anything like that. No, they were protesting the situation that happens in their country. And I'm like, okay, but like that doesn't apply, like in the United Kingdom, you don't have Black people getting shot by police officers. I just, like you don't even see it in the news if you look at BBC. And I'm pretty sure like in the entire nation, they might have been like a couple of cases, but it's definitely not the same like you have in the United States.
Yeah, you can't bring like American, what's happening like in America to other countries, because with this, like, I don't know about like France and stuff like that, the history with slavery and African Americans in their end, but here in America, of course, like it's like it's leaking into other countries as well. Like I remember critical race theory is going to like Ireland as well and Scotland, and I'm like, what? Like what? It's like I really don't get it, but I think this woke shit, it's like it's of course, like Godsod said, it's parasitic, so it's going to possess people like an ideological possession, you know what I mean? And I don't know, I doubt it's going to be like in Romania because you guys are pretty tough, so I don't know about identity politics in Romania.
It spreads through corporations, so we don't have that many here, like we don't have Romanian corporations. We do have some multinationals, but they don't have the power to brainwash people like in other places. But what I wanted to say is, think about it, okay? Like a problem in the United States causes riots in the United Kingdom and France. So, of course, like Macron doesn't like that. Of course, he's going to say like, well, and the second thing is like, it does cause division. It does cause people to turn on each other. And it's causing, because at the core, it's a revolutionary ideology. So the question is, why should the government fund a revolutionary ideology? Like, why should the government fund its own revolution, basically?
I don't know. Like, here in the United States of America, I'm not really sure. And I hope somebody in the chat will tell us. I don't know how many taxes that go to like Cambridge, MIT, and stuff like that. I think they do. They receive.
They do. They
funding.
Definitely do. Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, we are funding revolutionaries. You know what I mean? Like, we should really. I mean, if you think about like Pol Pot and stuff like that, majority of their ideas came from universities, when he came to this mark.
Oh, yeah. Like there was a time where Nazism and socialism was being taught in universities. And there were exchange students from the United States that would go either to Nazi Germany or to the Soviet Union. And when they came back, it was difficult to tell which university they did. It was very easy to convert one from socialism to National Socialism, but what they both had in common was a deep hatred for capitalism.
Right. I think Hitler was accused of, like, when I hear like Nazis, I hope that doesn't get you banned from YouTube. But like I hear like freaking people who are like National Socialists. They say that Hitler was a capitalist. And no. And so I was like, I don't have any information about that, but if you know,
no, it was more like China, economically speaking. I mean, technically you could have a private property as long as your business is working for the interest of the state. So at any time, like the state could come in and they could say, all right, well, these are the prices you're going to set, or these are the people you're allowed to hire. So is that still your property if that happens? It's debatable. I mean, it's not the same like socialism, I guess, where they just outright take your company away. But at the same time, depending on what business you're doing, you could be left alone, or the government could just come in and start dictating things. So
right, and that's the same thing like happening in China as well.
Yeah, I mean, like in China, the CCP controls everything, and again, like the CCP allows certain businesses to operate. While certain other businesses, they get completely taken over or they get interference from the CCP.
Like, what is like Romania? Are you guys like free market capitalism over there?
Yeah, well, I don't think capitalism exists anymore. I mean, all nations call themselves mixed economies anyway. So
okay, I see.
I don't think like even America calls itself a mixed economy. Like I don't think there is any nation in the world right now that identifies as pure capitalist.
That's true.
But yeah, I mean, we got a mixed economy. There's a lot of corruption here. I think it's similar to, from what I heard, New York.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if you want to do certain businesses, you have to grease the wheels, like pay the people that require paying, if you know what I mean. Very corrupt. So that's why a lot of people don't like it here. Like, basically, multinational corporations are being left alone while the little guy gets inspection after inspection after inspection.
Yeah, I know you're talking about, like, the same thing with COVID. That's why a lot of majority of people left California, like Ben Shapiro and stuff like that, because the big corporation, they're thriving here in California. Like, a lot of people, like, small businesses, mom and pop shops are like closing. And they're like doing everything they can to survive. I mean, here they're starting to like lift up certain things, but I think Dr. Fauci said that we're going to have to be wearing masks till 2022. And
at this point, I don't think they will ever lift the restrictions. I think they're like, when I die, they're not going to be able to have an open coffin. I'm 100% sure that these are just here to stay. I'm willing to be pleasantly surprised if that's not the case, but the way things are going, I just don't see it ever lifted.
Oh yeah, here in California we have to double mask. So,
well, here's the thing, like, I can tell you this as a doctor. It's like, why don't they talk about the eyes? The virus can go through the eyes. I mean,
really?
If someone,
Holy
of course,
shit.
yeah.
Holy
I mean,
shit.
well, it's a virus, right? So, why don't they talk about putting glasses then? I mean, when you go to the hospital to get a COVID test, like, the person that takes the test from you, they cover their eyes as well. Like, they have a protective gear that covers their eyes too. Yeah. I mean,
put like a face mask. Like, you had to like double mask and then put that face shield. Oops, sorry. That face
like
shield.
the double mask, is it required by law, or is it just like a suggestion?
It's just like a suggestion. And I think they're starting to open schools again. But they want it one day a week. That's it. And everything else is online. So
what the fuck is the point? I mean, there was like, I think like the schools, they're following the teachers union, and it was like this really disgusting thing that I saw. And this has to do with right wingers as well. Well, not right wingers, just normal people. Let's put it like this. Like, normal people not protesting against this shit. Like, they should have been in front of that chick's business, like demanding her resignation. So this union boss, this teacher union boss, she makes a very emotional statement about how the schools need to be closed because the safety of the teachers is important, blah, blah, blah. And then she takes a picture on Instagram as she's in a fucking vacation in the god middle of nowhere, like traveling to another country in order to get there. And it's like, oh, so your safety is only in jeopardy when you're at work? Is this like the working virus? But it's not only that, if I was a American, right, with some influence, like, let's say I would own a newspaper or something, you would have to start protesting against the government and be like, okay, well, if you shut down the schools, that's fine. But why are we still paying taxes for them? Like, cut the wages. Cut the fucking wages. If they're not going to work, they don't get paid. Like, for example, a waitress, right? Her restaurant closes down. She doesn't get paid. When everyone opens up, they get paid again. Oh, safety. Okay, I understand. Yeah, safety, very important. Keep them shut down, but like, pay less money. The money, like have a COVID relief fund from this shit. Like the taxpayer that should go to education. Same with politicians. Why are politicians getting paid during this? They should show solidarity. That's what leaders do. No, I'm not joking.
I agree, man. I totally agree. It's like
if you're a leader, right? You can't be seen gorging yourself with food at the French Laundry from taxpayer money while the taxpayer is unable to work. So fuck you. No, you should show solidarity. And just like the waitress who doesn't get paid, you should not accept the money for the period that the lockdown issues. And after the lockdown is lifted, then you get paid again. And that's fucking common sense. But like, why aren't America like why are even like right wingers bringing this up?
Right.
Like that. Then like, what are they going to do? Accuse you of science denial? Like, does science say that politicians need to get paid during a lockdown?
And I it's like I get into like many arguments, but like teachers and stuff, because I'm friends with a lot of professors and teachers, and I tell them, I go, the science, you guys are the same one that makes the point and make the argument against right wingers. Trust the science, but the science, even Dr. Fauci has said to open up schools, But yet you guys.
Oh, he changed his mind. I think he changed his mind again.
Again, he changed.
Yeah, he changed his mind. No, but like the thing is, like, I don't fucking care. Like, you don't even bring the science argument, right? Because here's the thing with science: they're mixing science and opinions.
That's
like
true.
Science tells you that urine is a great conductor. Science doesn't tell you not to piss on an electric fence. Like,
right.
That's an opinion. Do not piss on an electric fence is an opinion. If someone pisses on an electric fence, that doesn't mean he's a science denier. That means either he's an idiot or he wants to commit suicide. Right. Or he's just like an edgy boy that tries to risk it. I don't fucking know. But like the point is, right? You don't even have that conversation. Like, conversation should be, okay, keep the schools closed, but don't pay the teachers.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, use the money to pay the homeless, use to finance something that's like during the crisis. Why are these people being paid for not going to work? Because don't get me wrong. If I were being able to not make YouTube videos and still get fucking paid, why the fuck would I even bother at that point? I mean, I don't get it. I would be the number one advocate for lockdowns indefinitely.
Yeah.
I mean, you're literally living off slavery then. Like other people that are, working class who risk their lives going out there to work, mm-hmm. have their taxes taken away and given to people who stay the fuck at home and don't do their jobs.
Mm-hmm.
How does this make sense? Like, literally, this is like a society founded on slavery, where the working class goes out, has half of their wage taken away in order to give it to parasites that stay at home. What the fuck? No.
It doesn't make any sense either.
And I'm saying parasites because that's how the communists in Romania used to call people that stood at home. Social parasites, they were calling them.
Yeah.
Like, if you are, if you are leeching off the taxpayer money, basically, like let's say you were in a household and your parents were like university professors and you just didn't want to get a job.
Okay.
And you stood based on their income. They would call you a social parasite. And the cops would patrol the streets during working hours to find people who didn't have a job.
Really? And what did they do? Like, force them, like, give them an application?
It's like, yeah. I mean, my uncle was an engineer and he got this person of Roma ethnicity, which was singing at weddings. Mm-hmm. And they called that to be a liberal profession. They frowned upon it. So the cops caught him in the street during working hours, took him to the police station, applied the correction, and the correction means a severe beating. And they were basically saying that you make more money than a worker makes in 2 months by singing at a wedding. Like, how are you setting a good example to the community? So they literally took him and threw him in a factory. And he didn't know. Like, he didn't know how to do anything. And obviously, like, other workers were mocking and ridiculing him because, like, he didn't want to be there, and he also didn't know the trade. But that was the reality, when you live in a socialist country like mine. Someone said for $5, Zenith works. All these weirdos decided to use a man's death just to push their own cause. They are communists. Yeah, I mean, I saw. Okay, so the way professional agitators operate is they already plan ahead. Like, for example, they say these are the roads the cops use to get there. These are the roads the firefighter uses. Yeah. And these are the stores and blah, blah, blah. And this is how we can set up bricks next to the stores. And then they wait for an event. So like, at one point that event will happen. Like, it's just, statistics and probability that in a country with 300 million people, you're going to get an event. And when the event happens, they already have the tactics, they already have the numbers, they already know how to operate, and boom. So that's what they consider being proactive rather than reactive. Because they consider, like, people who genuinely get upset about something and genuinely go out, they consider them to be reactive. Mm-hmm. But by planning ahead and using all these tactics, they consider themselves to be proactive.
Yeah. And I think, like, the professional agitators, you see them like Black Lives Matter, and I believe in the Capitol riots too, from my understanding. I think they were there because no, the last night I was listening to a podcast episode like Joe Rogan did with Tim Dillon, and they were talking about like professional agitators, and they said that Alex Jones was the one who brought that up. They dress in all black, and then they start smashing shit, and you see videos like of that like in Black Lives Matter, and you see that at the Capitol riot. Like somebody, Antifa was there as well. And so I didn't believe it until I saw some of the videos. And I'm like I don't even know what's real anymore. I've come to that point where I'm just gonna like get rid of social media. I'm gonna deactivate everything because I'm just so sick of this shit, because I don't know anymore. You know what I mean? Like, it's just so much information is coming at you all at once that you don't even know. Like, I don't even know, me personally, how can I process this shit? You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean, it doesn't matter who was there. I don't know. I haven't seen the videos, but the security wasn't there. You know, like from my understanding, from my understanding, Nancy Pelosi was briefed about security issues and security threats, and she didn't want to do anything about it. So what happened was when the impeachment came, initially both sides said that they're not going to bring witnesses. But then the Democrats said they will have a witness, which was basically like a friend that heard it from a friend that heard it from someone else type of person. And then the Republicans were like, okay, well, we got several hundred people. And if they can't call all the members that they have on the list, they just want to call Nancy Pelosi. And that's when they dropped it. That's when they stopped wanting to bring witnesses to the hearings.
I don't even know like how she stayed in fucking power. Like she'd been in power since we were born. You know, it's like it's like I think at AOC she got backlash for it. Like I think it's like the Squad, they voted for her to be, House Speaker. And a lot of people
but like the opponent was worse from what I understand. That's why they voted.
It's just, here in America, like a lot of people like our politics. Me, I kind of like respect the old politics, like classical liberalism and stuff like that. But I'm me personally, I'm losing faith in political philosophy and stuff like that because of the fact that it's so like polarized and so and you're the only one that I actually watch because you have like a nuanced approach to things. You know what I mean? Like your content. So, it makes sense because you back your stuff with evidence and stuff like that. But now you can't even give evidence to anybody here,
I mean, the best way to follow politics is to look at the money. It doesn't matter what people say. You need to look at their actions and where the money is going. But as for evidence, I mean, like social media showed that, what was that Hunter Biden story, just boom, completely nuked off Twitter. And, the social media is not free speech. And even if you were to have evidence, you wouldn't be able to present it.
I heard about using DuckDuckGo like that as well, because like I think Google hides information from you, whereas DuckDuckGo, it's there. So I'm thinking about using that as well. It's just like,
I mean, but it's so you're absolutely right. It's going to go to the point where you're going to be accused of something and you're going to be like, hold on, like what are you accusing me? The word you're using doesn't mean what you say it does. And the person will say, no, I'm absolutely right. And you'll be like, hold on, this can't be true. And you're going to look it up online and you're going to see that you're wrong and the word now means something else. And you're going to be like, okay, no, that still can't be true. So you're going to go to the bookshelf that you have in your house. You're going to take your old dictionary, dust it off, and you're going to see that you were right and that what you read online was a lie.
Right.
Because they changed definitions. Like here's an example. When they talked about sexual preference and they said it's offensive, immediately Miriam, the online dictionary changed the definition of it. And they went like, okay, no, sexual preference is offensive, because like it was the scandal with ACB. And I was like, holy shit, like if for something like this small, they're willing to go and change an entire word, then imagine what they do for bigger things.
Yep. You remember that story? I'm trying to look it up right now, where she changed it's like oppression. She changed the definition, and Merriam-Webster was like, it was something had to do like black supremacy or black oppression or something like that. And like black people can't be racist due to power or something like that. I don't know the story. She changed. It's like they can change definition because it becomes really dangerous when you're changing definition to fit your political ideology. You know what I mean? Like, I did not know that. Like, when I think about white supremacy, I think about like David Duke. I think about Richard Spencer.
Well, it's in the fucking name. A person that thinks white people are superior. I mean, it's literally in the fucking name. It's
like the V. Like, these people are not thinking the same way we're thinking. Because so you and I, when you think about white supremacy, we think about like the guys in like the
that's the tactic they use.
But to the leftists, white supremacy mean white superiority, meaning the system itself.
Yeah, like,
you know what I mean?
Here's a better example, right? The left doesn't have the public on their side, like the overwhelming amount of people, because like the number of fringe activists are quite small.
Right.
And if you were to take on a seat, you take a far leftist, and then you take a pro-capitalist, like, I don't know, Thomas Sowell.
Right.
There is no fucking way people in the audience are going to side with the leftist after they finish, providing their points.
Right.
So they need to use certain tricks in order to get the impression that they're actually in the majority. And one of the tricks they do is the word definition change. So, for example, Antifa, right? And the name is anti-fascism. Now, when normal people think of fascism, they think about a system that wants to control your thoughts, wants to control your life. They want to control if you're allowed or not allowed to work.
Right.
A dictator that uses repression on political opponents. That's what they think of fascism. So when Antifa protests against fascism, people join because they think that's what they're protesting.
Right.
But in reality, for them, fascism is capitalism. Like, they outright say that a capitalist system is a fascist system. So what they end up doing is, like, they're protesting capitalism, and they show, look how big numbers we have. Look how many people are. And this is the tactic, by changing the definition.
And then they say that it's not an organization, it's a movement, or it's an idea.
Okay, so yeah, there's different cells. But I'm pretty sure if someone were to map it, you would have connections that, like, you'd probably have like various cells that don't interact with each other. And as you go upper and upper, you end up with people connecting the dots, and it's how can I describe it? It's kind of difficult because I don't think there are many organizations like that.
Mm-hmm. Like with the fascists. I did under Benito Mussolini, did he ban particular books? Do you know?
I'm not sure about Italy. I mean, I know the Nazis did, but I'm pretty sure, every totalitarian regime bans political opposition.
Same thing like Pol Pot. He did the same thing in Cambodia. Like, you remember Andy No? He released a book. And so these people in Portland, they're protesting a book. Doesn't that make you a fascist?
It's not even that. Like, okay, so the thing that really annoys me about the book burnings is that back in the day, like, why did they burn books? It's in order to provide other people from accessing the information.
Right.
Because back then people could only use books in order to access. Books are word of mouth, but like books were mainly used in order to access information. So by burning it, you're preventing other people from reading what was written there. Right. Now, today, people don't use books that much. People use social media. People use Amazon. They use Kindle. So when you're banning someone from social media, it's literally the same as a book burning, because what you want to do is you want to prevent other people from having access to that information. Mm-hmm. It's literally the same spirit. Mm-hmm. And just because it doesn't look nice that it's on a burning pile that you set it afire and everyone claps, it's still the same thing that you're doing. You're preventing people from accessing that information.
Right. Just like when they removed Gina Carano, she got popular after that. She got really popular.
I think she was always popular.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
So old Nussy, 10 pounds. A up, V lad. It's payday. Here's your cut. Keep up the good work. Buy some glitter to decorate your poor cats. I had.
I'm sorry about your cats, V. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's doing well. Like I wouldn't even know it used to be sick today.
Yeah.
I had to give it shots, and it broke my heart. It's difficult when you give a shot to a person, the human knows that you're trying to help them and they cooperate. Right. When you give a shot to a cat, they obviously don't know what's going on and they're scared.
I hope the relationship is still good between you two.
Yeah. And I got $5 Californian dollars, 9 mansplaining fee. Okay. So, Gina Carano. Yeah. I saw her thing on Ben Shapiro. Like, she was doing this interview, and man, like, it's so weird. Like, first of all, apparently she's not a political activist. Like, this is the first time she went to vote. And she just didn't understand right-wingy, left-leaning dichotomy. Like, when she put beep boop on her Twitter, apparently she just did it to show that she can put whatever she wants on her Twitter, because other people put whatever they want. And she didn't expect people to freak out at her like that. And when she went to confront, apparently she was told by her manager that she needs to speak with the LGBT activists at Disney. Like to me, like that blew my mind. It's like, what, Disney has like an LGBT cathedral? Like they have the Inquisition of the LGBT I guess like speak on behalf of all gay people. Like, okay, so if I'm gay and I'm offended by Gina Carano, you can have like the people at Disney saying that I'm not offended, or vice versa. You know, like what if I'm not offended at all, but the LGBT inquisitors at Disney claims that no, you did offend the community. Like how do they figure out if the community is offended or not? Like, do they have the ability to read minds, or like how? Yeah, or is it like if it offends them, it offends the community? Like, are they and the community one and the same?
Yeah, you know, and it's the same for me. Yeah, like me, I'm what they consider a person of color, right?
Yeah.
And then every time I say, no, I don't feel oppressed. Well, you don't speak to the Cambodian community. I'm like, I never said I did. I feel like these.
Yeah, but like someone clearly does. Like someone clearly speaks for the Cambodian community, isn't it? And I think like that person is like the Buddha of the Cambodian community. Or in the case of this day, like those people, those activists are like the Buddha of gay. Because seriously, like they went next to the tree and they started meditating and they became one with the LGBT universe. And now if they're offended, then the entire community is offended. And if they're not offended, then the community is fine with it. Like, how the fuck does that even go? You know, like the correct way, I guess, if they wanted fairness, would be someone offends, let's say, the LGBT community or is under the accusation. Okay, well, then you need to get a group of random LGBT people, and I guess like form the same thing like you have in a trial, like you Americans have, because we Europeans don't use them, like a jury. You know, a jury of random LGBT people, and you lock them in a hotel room without access to internet or social media for the time of the trial, and then they have to pass the verdict if what the person said is offensive or not. I mean, that would be the actual democratic way to figuring it out. Because like if you just have a person that's put in a position of power who no one voted, like I don't think gay people voted for the inquisitors at Disney to represent them.
Where's my fucking vote? You know what I mean? Sorry, I got a text message from Lydia. If you guys don't know who Lydia is, she is the chick from Tim Pool. Me and her are best friends. She just bought a car, so congratulations to her.
She's the chick from Breaking Bad that got poisoned with ricin by the end of season 4. Who elected these people to represent these minorities? Yeah, exactly. You know, like, and how do they get feedback from the minorities? Because that's like the thing. It's like, okay, well, they're gay. I get it. You know, like, but like for me, another Romanian cannot represent me if I don't vote for them. Right. It's like, okay, another Romanian saying like this is offensive to Romanians. It's like, okay, well, how can you make that claim if you don't poll Romanians?
Right. It's just, that's the same way that I feel here, you know, and like I never was a fan of identity politics. I knew, like, I'm pretty sure you went to university at the same time that I did. I went to university like in 2007. And so I started to see that identity politics started to happen, but I never saw myself like as a victim or anything like that. I know that I was brown, but I just didn't care. Like if I didn't get a position or anything like that, it's because I suck. You know what I mean? Like, it's not because I'm a woman. It's not because I'm Cambodian. It's not because I'm a minority or anything like that. I never thought like that. And to be in that mindset, that's pretty, you have to be like really a shitty person if you just depend on your looks in general.
No,
you know what I mean?
I'll tell you how it's like. Cause I had a lot of friends that used to be into social justice.
Right.
Before that, I'll just read one super chat. Let's hope these inquisitors are more pure than the journalist inquisitors that turned out to be heretical. Oh yeah. That's another story. But okay, so the way social justice activists get pulled into this is that they usually like they go to university and they don't have a lot of friends, or maybe they come from very conservative families that didn't allow them to have a happy childhood.
Right.
And then when they finally get out and they're free and whatnot, it's very other social justice activists, they're very nice at first, and it's like, oh, hugs and kisses, and you know, like let's watch cartoons and pet puppies and whatnot, and they want that sense of belonging. And in order to get to the sense of belonging, they have to think the correct way, they have to say the correct things, and it's an entire different culture where, for example, if you point out that something offended you, then all of a sudden you get more attention and people go like, oh my God, oh wow, it was that happened. And it becomes a game in order to like try to find more things to become offended by. And as you keep doing it, like eventually you genuinely do become offended by these things.
It's like they're like making shit up to be pissed off. Like you see a lot of like, I have in front of me like this person on Twitter. I wanted to go on Twitter because of the fact that I wanted to get more like people, you know, to listen to my podcast and stuff like that. But now that I saw this tweet, I'm like, nah, I don't belong. I don't belong on Twitter because his bio, he's a journalist. His pronouns are non-binary, race queer, gender capitalist, male feminist, Zer and Z, social justice soy lattes.
That's very progressive.
Like I'm just looking at him like, what does that even? What does race queer mean? Like I don't know what that means. Like all these terminologies.
Yeah, I mean, this is something interesting. I think I know what it means, but I'm not so sure. Like maybe he's mixed race or something.
I think so,
but
yeah.
If you want to mindfuck a progressive and get them angry, like it's really funny when you get them angry and they can't articulate why they're upset, because like they inherently know that their ideology is against it, but they can't explain why. So the non-binary thing, okay, like how do they justify it? They say how many genders are there? And you go 2, and they go like, no, because gender is a social construct. Okay, so there you go. It's like, okay, but there's like 2 sexes. And they go like, how do you define sexes? And you're like, well, okay, XX and XY. And they go, okay, but what do you do with XXY? Like, what do you do with Turner syndrome? So you see, like, there's more sexes, and because there's more sexes, then you can't say there's only 2. So these are what they consider gender abolitionists. Okay, fine. The same argument, however, can be used for race, because and with race, it actually sticks more because you don't have a single person on planet Earth that's pure race. Like race has ancestry. And you get like different ancestors, which at one point, like, for example, I can, and I'm pretty sure like most of us do, like we have some African descent in our blood. So does that mean that I can consider myself, you know, to be African, even though like it's not a big percentage, but I can say, well, yeah, but without that small percentage, like I wouldn't exist. So my point is like, okay, why aren't they advocating for race abolitionism then?
Right.
Because you're your anti-racist ideology. Why don't you advocate? And they will say, well, yeah, but it's because if we do that, then a lot of historical slights and historical injustices are going to be abolished. And I can say, well, okay, but if you do that for gender, then a lot of historical slights and historical injustice against women are going to be abolished. And you can see how they start to get upset when you bring this up, because they can't really justify it or articulate it, because you're using their logic that they just used against you, against them. Like they know they need the identity politics for their worldview to work, and they just can't discard it.
Yeah, they have to like remove everything. It's like deconstructing like an idea after an idea to the point where it's like so many pieces. You know what I mean? Like when I get into like, when I talk about CRT, and I talk about this on my podcast episode where I talk about critical race theory is not your friend, and I use James Lindsay, and I'm pretty sure your audience know who he is, and I try to like break everything down because I'm fascinated by critical race theory myself. You know what I mean? But when I talk to my left wing friends about critical race theory, I go, what you guys are doing is you guys are just like, you know, of course, you know, causing division between races. And pretty much what you guys are doing is like with intersectionality, you guys are putting like this hierarchy between, and white people, white cis male and heterosexuality is like right at the bottom. I go, what you guys are doing is and every time like I bring it up and I go, if you want to abolish race in general, then you're gonna have to remove their cultures, African American, you know, cultures, Cambodian culture, Romanian culture. And I go, what you guys are trying to do is like a utopia of everybody as a community. This is where liberalism kind of is a weak spot. You know what I mean? Like it's like different races exist, but then at the same time, they make the argument, you know, for compassion and unity, but at the same time, you guys want to keep your culture and stuff. So yeah, that tension's still going to exist no matter what. You know what I mean? Like you can't, I think with critical race theory, they don't have a problem with race per se. They have a problem with humanity, our
I mean, it's kind of more complicated than that because like this is the main point that economical Marxists bring against the how should I identity Marxists? Let's put it like that. Okay, like the economic Marxists, they go like, okay, well, the bourgeoisie is oppressing the proletariat, and all we have to do is to seize the wealth from the bourgeoisie and redistribute it. The problem with the identity Marxists is that they go like the straight cisgender white people are oppressing everyone else.
Mm-hmm.
But like how like the thing with the wealth, that is transmutable. Like you can legitimately like seize the wealth from people and redistribute it, right? Like that is something that can be done. The only problem is that the people who do this, they forget about the redistribution part.
Right.
But like you at least like have a goal. The thing with like abolish whiteness and other nonsense is like, well, you can't really do that because it's an inherent characteristic. Like you can't give away race, you know? It's,
like, what the fuck does that even mean? What does that? No, seriously, like, what does that even mean? Abolish whiteness? I don't even get that shit.
Oh,
like,
I know what they mean.
I shouldn't get mad. I shouldn't get mad.
Oh, I know what they mean.
Namaste.
I'll tell you what they mean. Okay, so it's the Nazi ideology of blood and soil, which basically means that race and culture are the same thing.
Okay.
That's what they believe. And when they say like abolish whiteness, like they look at a white person and they will automatically put him in a box, because for them race and politics are intertwined.
Okay.
So what they want to say when they say abolish whiteness, they actually mean like abolish the capitalist mindset, like the meritocracy, objectivism, capitalist mindset,
patriarchy,
like patriarchy, but they use whiteness because they want to stereotype white people. So when they see a white person, they automatically assume things. Like, for example, right, I'm from Romania and I didn't have any black slaves in my family line. Okay, like the Atlantic slave trade never went through Romania. But if I go into America and a social justice activist sees me on the street, they will assume that I'm an oppressor, even though I come from a poorer country, and they will assume that I'm an oppressor because my ancestors had slaves. And because of that, now I have privilege, right? And all of this is based on just stereotyping. Like they don't even talk to you. They don't even like want to, address anything like that. And the same goes if, let's say, you have a black person who had slavers down his ancestry to you, like, let's say 300 years ago, he had family members that were selling black people off the African coast.
Right.
And now if that person goes into the United States today, he will be classified based on stereotype by liberals that, okay, well, this guy is being oppressed because of the color of his skin and because of slavery in the past. It's just like mind fucking. It's just
it's like a fucking I don't want to say the R word. You know what I mean? It's like a mine RAPE. It's like
I mean, look at it this way. And this is what's fascinating. Do you notice that words like tolerance, liberty, freedom, acceptance, love don't appear at all in the mainstream media nowadays? I mean, true. Love is a very good example. All they talk about is sex and fucking.
Right.
Like whenever you see an article from Vice, Jezebel, or these BuzzFeed-like publications, all they talk about is the carnal pleasure. Like love. And I had this video on my channel where I talked about the idea that like people were saying men don't like romance movies. Okay. And I said, no, that's complete horseshit. And that's because you base it on the fact that men don't like 50 Shades of Grey and men don't like Twilight, which are all about like carnal pleasure. Like you have this mediocre girl and it's like, who do I get to fuck? Do I get to fuck this rich Chad or do I get to fuck this slightly less rich Chad? I think I'm going to fuck them both and then I'm going to pick one of them, right?
Right.
But men do not like that type of romance. However, they do like things like with Zaki-chan, where it's like the love between two virgins, and you know that by the end of the series, they're going to end up getting married. I know this sounds like very cheesy and very cliche, but if you look at men, they prefer anime. And perfect example, all men that I know, every single one loves Disney movies. They like Beauty and the Beast. They like Pocahontas. They like The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Like most people who've seen this, they love these movies because these movies aren't about sex and carnal pleasure. They're just about love.
Right.
And they can relate to those feelings.
Mm-hmm. It's like the stereotype that men only think about sex and they want like these like dirty movies and stuff like that. Like I see the opposite too. Like I'm like you, where like for example, like Billy Daphne, for example, like
Belle Delphine,
yeah, she is. This is my opinion, but she's really good at marketing for sure. Mm-hmm. Okay, that girl, it's her vagina. She do her. Okay, she can do whatever she wants. That's her. But the thing that I noticed is I was talking to a bunch of my like nerdy friends, and these guys like high IQ. These guys are, like doctors and stuff like that, and engineers, and they're like, I'm not really interested in that type of stuff. I'm interested in anime. And I was like, okay, all right, like hentai. They're like, nope. I was like, no, you know, it's like, I think it's like with this, like, you know, like we like in the 90s, you know, all these movies, these romantic comedies, they always make the guy like think about sex all the time. They're not into like romance or anything like that. And it really like it went from like movies to real life. Like they think like dudes like want one night stand and stuff like that, which is not entirely true. You know what I mean? Like guys want love too. It's just that with women, we think that I'm not talking about all women or anything like that, but from when I grew up, like the stereotypical male wanted like to hump things all the damn time, and you know they're horny and they just want to like fuck things, random things. You know what I mean? Like American Pie, for example. Like
yeah, I mean, hold on, let me address something in the chat because people still don't believe me. When I made my statement that men do like romances, I based it on demographics. Like, first of all, go into this. Like, if you ever went into the cinema when Disney movies were playing, which at the core are romance, like you find a lot of men there. And when you go to, or at least boys, right? Like when you look at anime, like Uzaki-chan, most people that enjoy those animes are men. And that's why, you know, like, but if you go to 50 Shades of Grey or you go to one of these Hollywood romances,
women,
overwhelmingly women. Now, I'm not saying this is a bad thing, by the way. You know, it's like, I don't think like every product should cater to anyone, but the idea that men aren't attracted into romance is false. And if you look at Prison School, okay, like Prison School was brought up in the chat. I mean, that's a romantic comedy. But at the end of the day, it's the romance that the main character has towards the sister of the villain, I guess you can call it, which is driving the show. And you want to see him get the girl, like you want to see him succeed. I mean, I'm just looking at it, and these are romance anime, and men like them. So you can't make the argument that men don't like romance.
Yeah, like like with me personally, I have never watched Twilight, not at all. Like. At all. I never watch Twilight. I never watch 50 Shades of Grey. I don't have the book. I never masturbated to it or anything like that. Never. It's like, I'm being honest. Like, I'm not into like those romantic stuff. Am I broken?
I mean, you know, like it's possible that a man maybe would like a movie about like an average guy that has like two very hot girls that are foaming over him. But the problem with that is that it's really unrealistic. Like, I don't think you can relate to something like that because it doesn't happen in real life. But like a girl that has like two guys that are over her and phobic over her, like maybe that can happen, which is why women kind of like 50 Shades of Grey.
Did she have two guys? Like, I don't know the story.
Well, I don't know. Like, hold on. In 50 Shades of Grey, no, it's just Christian. But like Twilight is a better example. Yeah.
Okay. A werewolf and a vampire. Okay. Like I don't like I remember when I was working during that time, I was not even concerned about Twilight. A lot of people's like, I'm Team Edward, I'm Team Jacob, whatever. Like I wasn't into that stuff. I was more into like the philosophy stuff, you know what I mean? And I'm not saying it's a bad thing. If you like 50 Shades of Grey, if you use a cucumber on yourself and whatever, I don't give a shit. That's you know what I mean? Like, but I'm not into that stuff. And if people get like surprised, like, you don't watch 50 Shades of Grey, you don't know, like, no, I don't. Like human sexuality is really complicated, but at the same time, it's not. It's like people have different preferences. You know what I mean? Like what they get turned on, and I guess you're seeing, like a lot of people make the argument that 50 Shades of Grey is proof that women want to be dominated. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, but like I'm thinking about more TV shows that would strengthen your point. Big Bang Theory, Friends, How I Met Your Mother, they have a lot of men watching them.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, it's all about the romance, like entire seasons. Scrubs, another example, you watch the whole season. It's like, oh, are they going to hook up? Are they not? And you go to forums and you see men talking about it. So no, I completely disagree the fact that men do not like romance movies or romance novels or TV shows.
Yeah,
they totally do.
One of a friend of mine, he wrote a romantic novel, and it's published on Amazon, so it's really successful. So and he's a lot of people are like, oh, is he gay? Or I go, no, he's actually straight. He just writing romantic stories for women. That's
I mean, are you aware of Uzaki-chan? Because I keep bringing her up.
You could link me. And to let you guys know, the audience right now, like me and V, I consider him my friend. Okay, and I want to get to know him a little bit more. And he likes anime, and I don't get it.
Okay, so Uzaki, I'll tell you, like Uzaki-chan is this. Uzaki wants to hang out, right? So is this big titty girl in university, and she falls in love with this guy, and the guy is reclusive, but apparently he's hot. And she wants to get him out of his comfort zone. And that's why it's called Uzaki Wants to Hang Out. And you look at the episode, the first episode is they are going to a date to the mall.
Right.
And that's relatable as fuck. I, as a guy, have taken girls to the mall. And it's just hilarious things that are happening to them, which, for example, he uses a VR headset that accidentally touches her boob. And, it's an awkward situation. But that's what, romance comedy is about in Japan. Like they use a lot of sex and innuendo as comedy and humor.
Right.
And I don't think Westerners do that.
Right.
Yeah. So that's why men like it, because it's relatable. I don't relate to Christian Grey. I don't know how the fuck it is to be a billionaire. I don't know how the lifestyle is. I can't relate to a vampire that lived for thousands of years. And that's the problem. There is no relatability.
So you're talking about relating to the character. I think that's what makes it what makes things very popular.
Yes,
it's
representation is bullshit. Relatability is king.
Okay. Yeah, I see what you're trying to say. Yeah, that totally makes sense. About
I can relate to a black person. I can't relate to a white billionaire.
Yeah.
I can't relate to Bill Gates. I don't know how he got his life cycle going. I can't imagine how it's like to be the leader of a multi-billion-dollar empire. I
don't even know what to do with that much money, to be honest with you. Billions of dollars. I can't imagine. I will probably.
But not even that. I don't know why he doesn't just quit. I mean, if I had that much money, I'll be like, okay, well, fuck it, and I just quit. But no, for these people, it seems that legacy is important, and it's about building an empire. And I probably wouldn't do that.
If you look at history, a lot of majority of the people that want to leave a legacy, it's men, right? I mean, Empire, Alexander the Great. We're talking about Julius Caesars and stuff like that. Ceausescu is a good example that he left a shitty legacy for sure, but it's always Well,
I think it's women as well. The Queen of England probably.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. That's true as well.
It's just that we didn't have many examples of women in positions of leadership, but when you see a queen popping up in a nation or another, she wants to leave a legacy. I don't think
that's true. Yeah, that's true too. And going back to the social justice stuff, when you look at history, this is why CRT doesn't talk every time you don't see a lot of Robert DiAngelo, who wrote the book Right Fragility, go in debates or anything like that. Kimberly Crenshaw, she doesn't talk to James Lindsay or anything like that, because if you look at history, if you put CRT or intersectionality, for example, with history, it doesn't make any sense, because women do have power. In the UK, you guys have a fucking queen. It's she's.
They had the queen, they had the female prime minister. I think the female of the Scottish thingy was also even in Scotland and stuff,
in Europe, the queens, they were very ruthless. I mean, the most, I think, I forgot her name. She was a queen and she was a serial killer. She killed
Elizabeth Bathory.
Is that her? That was a serial she bathed in their blood. Women can be just as ruthless and disgusting as men, because it's human nature. I don't know why they have this idea that women are
Yeah, they're not even human. They're like above humanity. They're like magical angels or pixies that can never do anything wrong. No, it's that Marxists always infantilize the things they protect. Like classical Marxists would infantilize the proletariat, and they would want the proletariat to have more rights and fewer obligations.
That's true.
Yeah.
Like with this feminist, the radical feminists, they believe that women are like, yes, queen, and things like that. So
it's the virtue of being a woman. It's the virtue of being born that way, which is just weird.
Hold on just a second, V. Hold
on. The Pope got caught again on Facebook, this time looking at questionable looking anime characters. I'll get the fuck out. I don't believe that. I'm starting to think that the Pope is being being trolled.
He got caught looking at porn. What happened?
Yeah, like the Pope apparently got caught looking at anime characters. There was like this controversy where the Pope liked the OnlyFans or Instagram, I forgot which, to a very hot chick. And, people were laughing about it because it's kind of sinful. Yeah, she had some pictures that made you sin with a heart. And then he liked, I believe, another girl. And now apparently he likes some anime girls.
Is he in charge of the account? Like, is it him or is it?
Yeah, well, that's what people are wondering. That's what people are wondering. But this is the third time it happened. I don't know. I mean, it's just weird.
The Pope is like God and booties.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like he's got some very good taste. I disagree with his politics, but I mean the ladies that and by the way, like the lady that he liked exploded in popularity because the whole media talked about her, and everyone was just like she was the talk of the day.
Maybe we should talk about that V for a little bit. It's like when we look at the Pope. He is like this God figure, right? This godly figure,
God's vicar on earth. Yes.
And like when we watch these like celebrities and stuff, like Ellen, for example, DeGeneres. Yeah, she's mean. Mm-hmm. She's a mean person. But she appeared as a nice person. And some people who are friends of mine who know Ellen personally, like, I don't believe this, and I'm like, it doesn't surprise me. Like, it's like a lot of like, I feel like humans, they have this tendency to not accept reality. Like the Pope, he likes booties. I'm pretty sure it goes on his head. He's not perfect. I remember I listened to like an episode where you talk about big tits and you like big tits. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. And so like, I don't know. It's like they tend to like worship, other human beings, which is, natural, I guess. It's like historically has proof.
Have a role model, basically. Yeah.
Yeah, like they can't really
look up to. Yeah, look up to people. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't believe that people are incapable of, just like talking about the Pope, for example. Like I didn't believe it at first. I'm like, no way. He liked that picture of a butt, or it's like I don't believe it.
I mean, I believe it because there were popes in the past that had orgies in the Vatican. So
no, they did. Well, shut the fuck up.
No, seriously, it's historical.
Dude, you have to link me, man.
Okay. But I thought, like this is common knowledge.
They had
chat, please tell me the name of the Pope. They had orgies in the Vatican like that.
Like for example, if he, like I said, I'm a fan of like political philosophy. I think I'm going to start like an entire different podcast where I talk about political philosophy. And like, I remember learning about Benjamin Franklin having orgies, and I'm like, no way, because I like the guy, you know what I mean? And so
yeah, I mean, I guess is this all right? So we as humans, I guess, like we got the expectations for the common plebs, and then you have like a certain expectation of how a doctor should act, and then you have like this fiction on how a politician should act. So when you think about Benjamin Franklin, while you're thinking about, I can't say the saint-like figure, right. But it's definitely the best example that humanity has to offer when you start reading about him as an American and you're a kid, and then when you find out that he's doing orgies, which is like the most, like human being male desire. Right. Like every guy probably wants to fuck two women at the same time.
Right.
And but it's also immoral because of Christian tradition, and you're thinking like, wow, really? I mean, so basically he's a man, like all of a sudden from that pedestal he goes all the way down and he's at the same level with everyone else.
Right.
The Pope name is Caligula, and the Borgia. Yeah. The most evil human in history was Kaiser Wilhelm II. He dragged Germany into World War I and helped communism win in Russia.
Interesting.
I wish Kubus 7 was here.
That's interesting. Like for instance, so if you guys don't know this nerd named Rick Steve, he does a lot of travel in Europe and stuff like that. He did a very good episode on Romania, so that was really good.
Mm-hmm.
He was talking about fascism, and on the comic section of that video, you guys can look it up. It's Rick Steve Europe, and it's fascism, and he did a fucking excellent, pretty much description about fascism, like a nuanced approach to what it is, what the philosophy is.
Yeah.
And someone got super upset at him because he was making it seem that Hitler was a good guy because Hitler pulled Germany out of, he brought up their, I guess,
the economy.
The economy and everything back to, its strength. And with the same thing with Benito Mussolini. So because of the fact that it's facts that they cannot handle that because like I said, in American public education, into your American fans.
Well, what Hitler did is that he said women aren't allowed in the workforce because they believe that women should be in the KKK, which was Church, Kinder, and Küche. So basically, go to church, go to your kitchen, and go to your kids. Mm-hmm. And by removing women from the workforce, when he did the statistics again for how many people are unemployed, he stopped counting the women. So by definition, the unemployment dropped massively. Yeah. So that's one of the things. And there's like a lot of statistics like that. I mean, China does similar statistics as well, where they manipulate facts or they cook the books in a way so that the numbers stick up.
Yeah. Like lifting people out of poverty. I think China bragged about that. Mm-hmm. And then in North Korea, they have this idea that, but also like fascism and Nazism are not the same. That's true. That's
like
true.
Benito Mussolini has a quote where he says that nationalism has no need for the delirium of race, and he can't believe that anyone can prove to him that pure races exist. So yeah, like Benito Mussolini was definitely against racismus, but Hitler had his entire ideology built on racismus. I mean, if you look at, oh my God, like some of the things that they were saying, because they needed more men for fighting the war. Mm-hmm. And I think they were looking at the Lithuanians, right. And they were basically saying, it's like, okay, well, if they managed to have a theory in order to justify how they would fight in the SS. And they said that back in the day, Germans went there and they invaded. So the people around Lithuania, I think the Lithuanians or something, like is that geographical region. But like they were saying that they have some German in them. So there is a kindle of Aryan blood. Mm-hmm. And when they go to war, like he would say that if there's like a division of 1,000 mm-hmm. And 500 would die, then the Aryan spirit would move from the dead into the living and strengthen their Aryan blood. And I was like, holy shit, like that's the racist Pope, motherfucker. Like that is, yeah. Like when you read some of these things, because I used to read them like when I was passionate about World War II history and whatnot, like it was right. years ago. But you read some of these things and you're just realizing, okay, their ideology was just batshit insane, like it just.
I've got his name, but
yeah, Estonians, yeah, that's the thing. Estonians.
They were, I think, like with the Nazis, they were obsessed with. They were in Antarctica as well, and there was a connection between the Nazis and I'm not saying a connection, but the theory were the Nazis. They were talking about how Atlantis that was the original white race. Mm-hmm. The people, and then I was like, wow, that's pretty fascinating. But to go back to social justice, they're the same way. I mean, like they feel like they're incapable of hate. They feel like they're incapable of violence. And when you talk to them, especially like the Stalinists, for example, When you said that, Stalin had a cannibal island, they're like, what?
I don't think they generally do believe they're against violence. Not anymore. I mean, maybe
That's
like
true.
4 years
That's
ago
true.
they did.
Yeah.
But like today, I don't think they can make the same argument.
Like for instance, like I make the I was talking about how the Democratic Party was originally like the slave owner and stuff like that, and they don't believe it. They do. But with the left, you can you can get away with things, whereas the right, they cannot. You know what I mean? Like the Republicans, for example, they're always going to be like that racist party, whereas the Democrats, they're no longer that at all. They change. Their sins are forgiven, but when it comes to like the right, they can't. You can get away with beating the crap out of a right wing than you do with the left wing.
I mean, the left is entirely inconsistent. Like, for example, James Gunn, they stuck up for him and they rehired him. But then you have someone like, I believe is Wheaton, right? Like the guy who
Will
made...
Yeah.
He made Cabin in the Woods and Buffy and a lot of things that were considered progressive at the time. And they didn't stick up for him. So it just doesn't make sense. It's so bizarre. But yeah, I mean, most of the things with the left is based on emotion and like the person in power giving the orders, because they definitely do have a hierarchy, despite the fact that they claim they don't. If, for example, Greta Thunberg would come up tomorrow and she would say something, they would all believe it.
Just like the video you did with Vosh. You remember he said the N-word and then he got away with it, but Sargon.
Yeah, because they're very very much aware that these weapons are meant to take out their opposition. It's that, and the opposition, like, they kind of instinctively feel who it is, because it's not always right-wingers. I mean, the best example that I can give is a couple of journalists from New York Times were fired when they suggested that the military should be called in order to quench the riots.
Right.
And now you have the military called to quench the riots, and they still have like fences and soldiers patrolling Washington, D.C. And no one is fired because of it. But like, if you suggested that 5 months ago, well, all of a sudden, and I think it's because implicitly they understand that the riots were actually meant in order to weaken Trump, and they were useful. They didn't have anything against like using force in order to quench civil unrest. Like, that's not the problem, but the problem is that they can use that logic in order to get the people in the center, like the biggest group of people, on their side. So they can use that justification to convince more people that they're the good guys. And when they no longer need the problem, well, then, now it's not kids in cages. Now it's overflowing facilities.
Yeah, they can like Gina Carano, she her I guess it's Instagram, I'm not really sure, where she talks about like the Jews. She didn't say what party, she just said that political ideas and stuff like that, dehumanization of your political opponent, whatever. And a lot of people are like, conservatives are not oppressed, Republicans are not oppressed.
Yeah, she didn't mention conservatives.
She didn't mention it. And then whereas her co-star was talking about how like
America, and he posted like misinformation. Yeah, he posted a fake picture.
He you know what I mean? And that's the hypocrisy that I really don't like. And this is where I got kicked out. And if anybody knows, I used to vote Democrat, and I got kicked out of my own party because of the fact that I call out the bullshit of a guy named Corey Muhammad. He shot and killed 5 white guys here in Fresno, California. You guys can look it up. And I'm like, how is that not racist? Whereas
my favorite fact check was that a terrorist was on the founding member of a BLM organization, and apparently she was this person who I think like was caught trying to bomb the DC Capitol. Like, I'll have to check, but the fact checking like literally said it's like mostly false, because terrorism can mean different things for different people.
So it changes again.
Let me see if I can find the article.
It changes. You can screen share. We're by the way, if you guys listening, we're on Zoom. We're on Zoom, so you can like share, and I can see it as well. But I really don't get like this hypocrisy, and I don't know. I really don't, like I said, I really don't fit in anywhere.
Oh, yeah, Snopes apparently fact check it. Let me just see if I can share the screen here with you, and we can look at it. But you know, like I personally don't give a fuck. But it's as you pointed out, you know, it's like they kind of made villainy into a virtue.
Right.
Like things that normal people would distance themselves from, these are the things that are being promoted, while things that normal people would want to associate from, they're telling you that it's bad.
Right.
So, all right, I think I'm sharing my screen. Oh, the host disabled screen sharing.
Did I?
Yeah, no, it's fine. I'll just give you the link so you
there
can
you go.
see it.
I think you can do it now. Yeah.
All right.
I hate Zoom. It's like I fucking hate Zoom. It's like
okay,
there you go. I see it.
I'm sharing. Yeah, and let me just share it with the chat. Give me a second.
Yeah, I see it. It's a did a convicted terrorist sit on the board of?
Hold on. Order move up. Why can't I? I need to wiggle the things a little bit. Yeah, give me a little wiggle. You know what? Fuck this shit. I'll figure it out later. All right. So I got one image and I got two images, and there we go.
There you go. Yeah.
So you know, like they point out, all right, Susan Rosenberg is her name.
Okay.
And it's like, did a convicted terrorist stay there? And they're saying that she's a convicted terrorist who sat on the board of directors of Thousand Currents, an organization which handles fundraising. Okay, so not a funding member, a fundraiser. And apparently, like what she did, she was part of revolutionary left-wing movements whose illegal activities included bombing U.S. government buildings and committing armed robberies. So it was undetermined in the absence of a single university agreed definition of terrorism. It is a matter of subjective determination as to whether the action for which Rosenberg was convicted and imprisoned, possession of weapons and hundreds of pounds of explosives, should be described as acts of domestic terrorism. Motherfucker, like if a right-winger did that... sorry, no, you know, like why would I even say right-winger at this point? No. If any person that's a non-leftist would do that, you wouldn't make that excuse. Like it's just... Yeah,
they change the terminology, like the Capitol riots, for example. They consider that domestic terrorism, right? Whereas with the May riots, that's not terrorism or anything like that. So they switched the conversation. Well, they switched the definition around.
Yeah, I mean, it's because of having power. You know, like when you have power, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Because like if you talk against it, you get banned. You know, there is no conversation about it. Like they tell you what the official narrative is, and you need to suck it up and just follow the trend. It's like the emperor has no clothes. Is what I keep. I want to make a video and call Sargon of Akkad the smooth brain, because he always says it's like, okay, well, the mainstream media has no power, and all you have to do is to point out that they have no power, and as the emperor has no clothes. And I'm like, motherfucker, have you read that fucking story? It's like towards the end when the kid laughs at the emperor. Do you know what the emperor does? He grins and he keeps walking. Do you know why? Because he's got a big cock. That's why. And he doesn't give a fuck what the plebs think. Like he can literally just walk naked from now on. And what are people going to do about it? You know, oh, they're going to laugh. Well, he can just repress them. He can use his guards to beat them up until they stop laughing. Like that's what happens when you have power. You don't give a shit about what other people think. Are you still here?
Yeah, sorry about that.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, man. It's like the hypocrisy is just like really like even if I bring it up, I really I don't have, you know, you're the only one that gave me a platform, but even if I do, you know, like I'm just gonna be like called like you are just gonna be a person who's participating in white supremacy because of the fact that you are a person of color, you should be on our side. And you liking white dudes is a form of white supremacy because you're participating in breeding the race. So,
really? Is that what they say in California?
Yeah. And you remember straight pride? Okay.
So hold on. Like they're against mixed race marriage now?
Mixed race, right? Mixed race because of the fact that you are participating in white supremacy. If you are dating,
so if you have like, you're shitting me.
Yeah.
Okay. Like so if you date a white guy and you have a mixed Asian kid, you're a white supremacist.
You're participating in breeding their race. And
but hold on, is it like, wouldn't they want the privilege? Because like you would think that if white people have privilege, that it should be the duty of other people to seduce whites in order to gain the privilege. I mean, if it like, you know, like
no, look at Tim Pool. Okay, so Tim Pool is half Korean, half white. So what's his privilege? Like Asians are next
I mean, he's got a lot of economic privilege. I'll give you that.
You got to think about it. That guy worked like he works.
I don't have the money to fly Vosh into the mountains in order to stream with him. You know.
If you have a mixed race, and if you guys don't know, I have a mixed race baby. So like how does that even like, okay, so the reason why I say this is because my friends are, you know, they're the ones who, you know, did straight pride, and that happened in Boston. And they were Antifa was passing out this flyer that you are participating in white supremacy if you date white people. You know what I mean?
But aren't Antifa white though? I mean, look.
We see their pictures, but the thing that they don't believe is that you have to provide statistics. And I'm like, the pictures were there. Look at Portland.
No, I mean, look, if you take a group of people from a Klans rally and you take another group of people from an Antifa rally and you mix them up and then you ask like random people to tell which is which, they probably wouldn't be able to do the difference. And I probably would, just because like I guess Antifa they look more corporate, you know. True. It's like I mean they have.
No, like have you seen those people, man? There are like the I kind of feel sorry for them, and this is my female side coming out. Like I feel sorry for them because the fact that they look like the type of people that you see at the bottom of the hierarchy. Does that make sense? You know, like
I mean the ones that get bullied at school,
Yeah, like Peterson talks about those people that they become so angry at the world that they become, you know, they bring it out on other people. Like really, Antifa has been protesting for quite some time, regardless of Biden. They don't like Biden either.
Oh yeah, absolutely. They said they will keep protesting, but like the difference is when the establishment helps them versus when the establishment doesn't give a fuck about them.
Do you think
like when the establishment doesn't give a fuck about them, like you notice when they started protesting at the politician's house, because like this is like what I can make in common with the DC riots and with the leftist riots. Like the thing they have in common and the moral of the story is the moment you protest against the politicians, you're done. It's like Antifa, right? The moment they get in Portland, they go at Ted Wheeler's house, boom, the next day they're shut down.
Right.
The Capitol Hill Autonomous Zone, the moment they went and protested that in front of the mayor, boom, they got shut down. You know, the people, the right wingers, right? They go at Capitol Hill, they break in, boom, they get shut down. It's like, okay, so in other words, as long as you're burning down neighborhoods and fellow citizens, like they don't give a fuck. You know, like you can do that for as long as you like. Just don't go do that in the proper neighborhoods. It's like when BLM was burning down places, it's like, okay, it's mostly peaceful. But when they went to CNN, all of a sudden there was police presence there.
Yep, and they really fucked up CNN, like the headquarters.
Yeah,
they really destroyed it.
Yeah, like that. No, they didn't. They couldn't even get past the lobby.
That's true. Yeah.
But like the thing that I'm trying to say is like, you know, when they were in the hood and they were, you know, rioting against other minorities, like there was no cops there. There's no police there. But when they go into the rich neighborhoods, all of a sudden you have a police presence, and they manage to push back the rioters.
And like not too long ago, somebody went to take a shit at Nancy Pelosi's house. And then she was like, you know, don't do this. And she was like getting really angry. And then, I think there's going to be like a fence. I think they put a fence around her house now because of the fact that.
I'm pretty sure they did. I mean, you know, like all these people, they use identity politics in order to distract from class politics.
Right.
Like that is definitely a class difference. You know, like
exactly.
Like why is there a fence now around Washington, D.C. when all the experts are saying that there is no threat to warrant that? It's because I'm pretty sure that the politicians, they love having like their secluded neighborhood now. You know, it's like a enclosed area, like a suburb now. You know, it's like a fenced off place for rich people. Like they don't want to see the stinking masses, you know, going next to their beautiful Capitol Hill building.
It's the same thing. Like it's the same thing like what the communists did. The same thing. I mean, Che Guevara was educated. I think he was a doctor. right? Che Guevara.
Mm-hmm.
You had Fidel Castro, who was a lawyer. You had Pol Pot, who was very rich because his family was a rice farmer. So you had like these rich fucking bourgeoisie acting like they're the proletariat. You know what I mean? It's the same thing that's happening today, but like in a different form. Like they're Democrats now, for example, and it's the same thing. They just make it worse for everybody else. They play that role that they're going to say like the working class, but they make everything worse. I mean, look at California, for example. Biden said that, we should be like California. Absolutely not. Living here, it's fucking horrible.
Well, because like the Americans, they say, well, California is one of the wealthiest states, and it is. But like, look at the wealth disparity. It's also one of the most impoverished. One of the highest wealth disparities with one of the highest level of homelessness.
Right. And it's like, I called somebody out. I was on a podcast not too long ago where he voted Democrat and we were talking about politics, and I asked him, I go, your side, it's really fucking up California. I mean, it's the evidence is there, but you're refusing to see it because if you drive down the freeway, dude, it's homelessness like all the way. Just you see homeless people just like living around the streets and stuff like that. Yeah. And so like we're laying off cops, and firefighters and stuff like that, and then we're giving free bus rides, for example, here in Fresno. It doesn't make any sense. So you're lay off these people that we need, especially during a pandemic, for example. And let alone the crime rate went up through the roof. Like I got robbed not too long ago. We contacted the police. That was like 2 months ago. And the detective would not come because they're so backed up because of the fact that they fired majority of cops and stuff like that. So they don't have any funding for that, but they have, but people can ride the bus for free and stuff like that. So
what the fuck do cops do? I wonder, like when there's no funding, like what do they do all day? Like,
I think it's because they same thing, like for example, like in New York, somebody just got beaten to death out in the open with a fucking steel pipe. Like if anybody's seen that video, it's fucking terrible. And like that's the Democratic rule. You know what I mean? And when you bring that up, you're right wing, you're Republican. I don't even consider myself a Republican or a conservative or anything like that. I just, I'm like an independent. And when I bring this up, it's like you're a bad person. And they use right wing to kind of shut your ideas down. That's pretty much what they do. I mean, look at Baltimore, for example. It's like really screwed up. I mean, being a black person in a Democratic run state or city is just bad for you because it's really fucking terrible. And like in California, and let everybody know that it's bad. It's gonna.
There was like my favorite part. Like there was this politician from Baltimore, like this the
chick,
very sassy black lady.
Yeah.
And she was on television with some leftists, and I think like there was this this reporter, and like the first thing she said is like she's a Jewish woman, like the identity was very strong, like to show that. And I think like she was the Democrat, she was a journalist, and she was like, what do you like? She was literally like lecturing the black woman about black oppression. And I'm watching that, and I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. Like this lady lived in Baltimore. Like, she grew up in Baltimore. She was black, and she was like, I want to turn things around. And this reporter was like, do you know what I did for the black community? Like, you've no idea, Missy. And it's like, yeah.
It's the same. Dude, I totally understand where she's coming from because I'm the same way. Like, I grew up poor myself, living on welfare and stuff like that. But I'm very grateful for what I have. I'm not gonna get mad at you for being a successful YouTuber. I'm not gonna get mad at Elon Musk for being rich. I'm not gonna get mad at men for being good at technology, for example, because I live in reality. You know what I mean? Like I can't be an Elon Musk. I can't be a V. I can't be a Sargon of Akkad. I can't be any of that. You know what I mean? I'm my own person. But like I feel like the whole ideology of like intersectionality and social justice is more like a bad taste in the mouth. Like it's like I felt like Marx, for example, is like a lazy motherfucker. If you really go to his who he was, I mean I'm not really sure he worked. I think he worked as a journalist, and that's pretty much it. He never got his hand dirty at any fucking factories or anything like that. You know what I mean? He was a shit. He had like a bastard child. You know what I mean? Like all this information is there, but they refuse to see it. Like, I feel like this ideology is meant for people who are like really mentally ill. You know what I mean? It attracts the most narcissistic.
It's more like a cult. I don't know if it's narcissistic, but I'll tell you why. Like there was this study which showed what we all knew, because if you remember before pronouns in the bio, people would have mental illnesses in the bio, like legitimately.
Really?
Yeah. And I'll tell you why. But like it used to be on Tumblr, right?
Okay.
And they considered like having a mental illness to be underprivileged, right? Like that was like, if you are white, if you had a mental illness, then I guess like you were a vulnerable person and everyone else should have treated you better, because like you don't want to be mean to a person with a mental illness. So they had like autism in the bio, they had ADHD, they had post-traumatic stress syndrome. Like they would have like all these things, Asperger's, right? And there was like this study which showed that people who are far left, like not leftists, okay, because you still have like the center and the moderates,
right?
But like people who are on the far left had more mental illnesses that they were diagnosed with than any other group. And this can mean either they are actually mental ill, or maybe I guess like they were more concerned about mental issues, so they were more likely to go and seek a professional help.
Right.
But I'm more willing to believe that no, like based on the things in the bio, you know, like the mental illnesses in the bio, which existed, I think it was like 5 or 6 years ago, it was a big trend about it.
Right.
And then it moved from mental illnesses, it moved into
sexuality.
Yeah, like, oh, I'm pansexual, I'm asexual, I'm blah blah blah, and now it's pronouns in the bio.
Right. And it's like it's like points as well. I
mean, the right wing does it as well, you know, like you see people with Pepes, or you see like there was a time where you had like a lot of far righters having like statues. Like it's basically like a cultural trend, but it does get to show that this is a community and they recognize each other based on signifiers. So
so basically like this human tendency, or like this we want to belong.
Yeah, it's like wearing a crucifix, you know,
right.
Like why do you wear a crucifix? It's to show to other people that are Christian, like to identify yourself as.
Yeah. I'm pretty fucking bland. Yeah, myself. I'm bland. I don't even wear jewelry. I don't even have tattoos. You know, it's like I don't even have I don't want nobody to see me. Like I'm very my fucking, you know, I'm not like the typical chick that has her fucking tits out or anything. Like I dress really conservative, but I'm not, you know, it's like I don't want attention to myself.
Oh, do you want to know a sad story? Like I had a female subscriber messaging me. And she basically never talked. I mean, she liked to lurk, and she told me that she's from California. I think it's like because she listened to you, right?
Yeah.
So she listened to you, and the problem that she had was that she's a lesbian in California, and couldn't find another woman that's not a social justice activist. Like
that's
she
lesbian?
just wanted, like she was a conservative lesbian, and she couldn't find what she considered to be a normal person that's in the lesbian community. Like all the relationships she had were insanely toxic because of the people hanging out in California. And I said, look, you need a good, decent Christian lesbian woman. Like a traditional.
You didn't go to the army and scissor those army women. Dude, I'm friends with a lot of people who are lesbians and gays, stuff like that, who are normal. They're not toxic or anything like that. I think it's like a trend, you know what I mean? Like to be, because these people pretend like they speak for us, like the POC community, like, oh, I'm a black person, I speak for all people of color. Like they love generalizing like these made up group of people in their fucking brain. So if she wants, she can come hang out with me. I'm pretty normal.
Well, I'll tell her that someone from California is pretty normal. But I don't think like she has the problem with having normal people as friends. Like she just cannot
Is it
find...
dating? Like she has problem dating?
Yes. Like she can't find a lesbian woman that's not a social justice person. Like a rabid Democrat. V, you're right. There's an anime called My Love Story, says Dean Domino, that I really like. Big ugly brute tries to woo cute shy girl, nice and wholesome.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yes.
That's really sweet. I mean, a lot of romantic. We're talking about the romantic thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone gave me a super chat. I had to read it.
Yeah. So, but, with like lesbian relationship and stuff like that, my lesbian friends, when I was in the university and stuff like that, they never really, never into that social justice stuff, because we're more concerned about like, you know, school and stuff like that. But this is back when we were young. So that social justice stuff didn't really gain popularity until like 2013, 14. You know,
it was after the what was it? The Occupy Wall Street.
Yeah. I think that was at like 2008. Was that, or I don't remember.
It was during the market crash.
And 2008.
By the way, Bear, I know you think it's funny. I wouldn't do that if I was you, because Milo Yiannopoulos lost his PayPal because of that.
What did he do?
He donated $14.88.
Is that bad? Oh,
yeah. I mean,
is that bearing the chick, or is it?
No. It's a subscriber, but basically, like, Milo Yiannopoulos got his PayPal removed for that joke.
Oh, I see. You know who else got like banned for that? His name is I forgot his name. Dangerfield.
But I do appreciate the donation, Bear. Okay, like I'll tell you this: like, after the Romanian government takes half of it, it will denazify it. It won't have the 14 and the 8.
Denazify. That's hilarious. That's fucking funny. You know, it's like all this, you know, V, like, how can I say this? Like, I don't get offended with ideas.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, so I'm on IG. If you guys have V, are you on IG, Instagram?
No.
Okay, you shouldn't. I would like to see pictures of the cat. I will fucking like that shit every day. But like, on IG, if you guys can follow me, it's just boon.him. That's pretty much it. And somebody followed me on IG, and so I don't pay attention because I don't get the notification. Instagram is pretty much just photos. So this person called a Mormon conservative. So I was like, Mormon conservative. So I look at his photo. It's basically just a fucking boogaloo guy with a Nazi flag behind him. And I'm like, Mormon conservative, Nazi flag behind you.
Don't they get banned on?
No. He didn't get banned at all. No, he didn't. And I'm like, he messaged me because he was like, you know, he goes, you sound like an interesting person. And I'm like, oh shit, am I attracting these fucking weirdos onto my...
Well, you know, the German-Asian alliance, so.
That I did not even know as well. But I think it was like somebody on Andy No and Joe Rogan. I posted, I was like, you know, how is Andy No a white nationalist? And then somebody commented and said that Hitler had an alliance with the Asians. And I'm like, wrong Asian, motherfucker. I'm Cambodian. It's like people for like, okay. So like the Asian, remember going back to the beginning, you know, like the people that are attacking Asians, they're attacking Southeast Asian. We have nothing to do with the Wuhan virus at all. That's Chinese. You know what I mean? Like nobody can't tell the difference. I mean, yeah, sure. Rice is rice, whatever. But still, it's like, wrong Asian, man. You know, I think the alliance that Hitler did was in India, correct? Or Japanese?
Japanese.
Yeah. Okay. Wrong Asian. Those are cool Asians. Okay. We're talking about like the jungle Asian here.
Well, you know, like the after the Nazi fall, the Germans had the Nuremberg trials, and the Japanese they also had a similar trial that's not very spoken about. Okay. But the defense, they said, was that they were an isolated nation and didn't want to bother anyone until the Americans came with their black ships. So they had to industrialize, but in order to industrialize, they had to get oil. And in order to get oil, they had to invade their neighbors and partake into colonialism. And because the Americans partook into the colonialism, they just don't understand why the Americans are now morally lecturing them for doing the same thing that the Americans did. And I was listening to that defense and I was like, huh. Dude,
it's like I really like the thing is like if you really study history, if you really like are into that shit, you know that after a while, like these ideas, that's why, you know, when I saw the Nazi flag and stuff like that, it didn't bother me. Same thing with the communist flag and stuff like that. It doesn't really I didn't find it offensive or anything like that. Even Khmer Rouge, you know, and you know what the Khmer Rouge did, you know, some really bad shit, because I know these ideas start somewhere. And they're going to grow. And so, you know, banning them is not going to help. It's going to just make everything worse. And it's going to make it just, like I said, it's just going to radicalize them. That's pretty much it. And it's just like, you know, when he messaged me, at first I was like, I don't get it. Like, a Mormon conservative is a Nazi. I don't, you know, I thought Mormons were like those people who dress like in like suits and ride their bikes. You know what I mean? Like, not a Nazi. It's like,
it's
I don't know.
Lapco92, thanks for your content, V. You on any Discord or any other social media, I had a couple of things to send to you, but I refuse to use the Twitter. Just send it to me on Yahoo Mail.
You have Yahoo Mail still?
Yes, I have Yahoo Mail. And why wouldn't I have? The U.S. gunboat diplomacy in the 1800 was responsible for Imperial Japan. Yeah. You know what's interesting about that trial? Like, the United States didn't want to take out the Japanese emperor because he was like little god for these people. And they also made the argument that he wasn't the one calling the decisions, like he was more like a figurehead and whatever, you know. So at the trial, they constantly refused to bring up the emperor because if a person would have said that he acted without the emperor knowing, then that's treason. And if you said that he acted with the emperor knowing, then that would mean that the emperor is guilty of war crimes. So both the Americans and the Japanese constantly just treated the emperor like the elephant in the room. You know what I was thinking about.
It's just like the argument that they make is just fucking amazing. Like, for example, like the trial, the Khmer Rouge, the Cambodian tribunal. This trial happened for quite some time, and it started, I believe, like in 99 or 98. And Pol Pot, in my personal opinion, from my understanding, I think he committed suicide. He didn't die by natural causes. So anyways, during the trial, so brother number one, so basically like Lin Seri, Noon Chia, and all that, Kin Sampan, they make the argument that no, we did not commit a genocide. The lawyers for them were like, no, they did not commit a genocide because the fact that it's Cambodians committing crime against Cambodians, it's not a genocide. You know what I mean? So it has to be, according to the definition of genocide, it has to be another race committing a genocide against another race.
Yeah, it's true. But you know what I noticed? It's like a lot of these totalitarian regimes, which literally have the power to do everything they fucking want.
Right.
They always like justify the atrocities in some way. Like they could just, we're doing atrocities. So what? Suck my cock.
Right.
But like even China, they just completely denied Tiananmen Square. But Tiananmen Square and the Muslims, like they completely denied that's happening. And I think like, why? Why do you do that? Just accept it. Just fucking accept that you're doing it.
But but the thing is, V, that means that the United States can't have to do the same thing like with the Obama administration. Obama's going to have to be trial for war crimes with Yemen. No, I mean I think that's what it is. The whole thing against that mindset, you know what I mean, like to accept your bullshit. So the Americans will have to be, do the same thing, you know what I mean? So to kind of even the playing field.
Like what are you talking about? Like some drone strikes or
no?
What?
You remember? So the in Yemen, the Obama administration, what they did was they bombed the fuck out of them, basically. And so we most Americans know, especially like libertarians, they bring this up where Obama pretty much. He is the most president to drop the most bombs. So it really debilitated Yemen. So basically, people.
But other cultures do that, like ISIS,
that's true.
For example.
Yeah,
like ISIS. No, what I'm talking about, like, is atrocities against your own people.
Right.
Like war crimes is a different thing.
Right.
Because like you have cultures that like they justify. So, for example, ISIS.
Right.
They don't hide like the fact that they're going to use brute force and they're going to terrorize it. But like I'm talking about, like China doing atrocity against its own people. They're like, okay, Tiananmen Square never happened.
That's true.
Or, like
oh, I get what you're saying. Yeah, I understand. Yeah.
Yeah, the Soviet Union. It's like Holodomor never happened. Like that type of thing is what I want to say.
Right. Okay, I totally see. Like what Holodomor is not like the Ukraine though. I mean, Stalin pretty much. That's a man-made famine.
Well, the Red Army went into the place because it happened to one of the villages. So the Red Army went in. They confiscated everything that was food, so grain, livestock, everything they took away. They encircled the village, and anyone that tried to escape was killed. And as you can imagine, with nothing to eat, people started hunting the birds. Then they started eating leaves and grass, and some acts of cannibalism were reported, and it's just fucking horrible. But yeah. Articles about identity politics skyrocketed after Occupy Wall Street. Theory about this is that corporations using it to destroy opposition. I actually had a video about that, and it's very difficult not to correlate the explosion in identity politics skyrocketing after Occupy Wall Street.
Right, I see what you're saying. I think it was like the same people that Occupy Wall Street in 2008. They did the same thing with Occupy the White House, I believe, and it didn't go through. as well. So, and the majority of the people like Tim Pool and stuff, I think that's where Tim Pool got popular from Occupy.
Yeah.
But
I think I was working at Vice at the time, actually.
Yeah. And then Vice used to be so fucking cool, and then all of a sudden just became so woke. You know what I mean? Like, could we define woke? Like, I get confused.
I can. I will go to the Chinese. Like, the best thing when you come to they have a word for it.
Is it the Baiso?
Yeah, the Baiju. Baiju. Yeah. Naive Western educated person who advocates for peace and equality only to satisfy their own feeling of moral superiority. Baiju only cares about topics such as immigration, minorities, LGBT, and the environment, while being obsessed with political correctness to the extent they import backwards Islamic values for the sake of multiculturalism. The Chinese sees the Baiju as ignorant and arrogant Westerner who pity the rest of the world and think they are saviors.
Right.
Isn't this like a better definition for woke as you can possibly come up with?
Like every time I say woke, people are like, well, define woke.
Then give them the definition of Baiju.
To me, like, I feel like with these people who are like woke, I feel like the whole idea, I was watching a video the other day, they were defining woke, and that it was the term is old, but like the social justice warriors, aka whites, took it and ruined it, and now they're like, I fight for immigration.
Here's the thing, okay, and this is what postmodernists fail to grasp, is that
true,
there are three levels of understanding, of human understanding. There is understanding something and you can explain it to others, understanding something that you cannot articulate, and just not knowing. So there might be a lot of things, like, for example, in the case of the woke, where people like know what they're talking about, but they can't put it in words.
Okay.
So just because you can't put something in words doesn't mean that you don't instinctively know, like you don't have the wisdom to understand that might be bad.
Right.
Like, for example, I don't know why if I throw water on my computer, it's going to sizzle out in flames.
Right.
But I just don't do it, but I can't explain the physical reaction and the of throwing water over a hot computer that is going to take place. I just know it's going to ruin the computer.
Right.
But just because I can't explain it or articulate it doesn't mean it doesn't exist.
Mm-hmm. So like the whole, like, to me, when like this, like I'm starting to hear the term at my job to diversify, the top dogs, with the company.
Mm-hmm.
And to me, I feel like that's kind of racist. And here's why. Because it's like, if somebody hired me because I'm a fucking Cambodian chick, for example, right? You're saying that I think like a Cambodian in Cambodia.
You think like a
Do you know what I mean? Doesn't that sound fucked up? I'm fucking American. I was born here, man. I don't know nothing in Cambodia. I don't know how they think. I mean, sure.
My favorite point with this is that, okay, so you can have two people that aren't racist, okay?
Right.
But the moment they start a company, those two people, they become racist because they haven't hired a minority.
Right.
And they also become homophobic because they didn't hire a gay person.
Because it's like saying like, okay, you're saying that gay people think differently. You're saying Cambodian people think differently. You're saying black people think differently, and that they will bring like a different, like, diverse.
Oh, you know that chick from Apple, diversity officer from Apple, got fired because she suggested that 10 white people in the room can be diverse because they can have different ideas.
What the fuck?
Yeah. That was a controversy back in the day. Let me see if I can find. Like, she had to apologize, and after she apologized, they fired her.
Because that's like saying that's like saying all Romanian people think alike. That's not true.
Literally, that is literally. But it's not even that. Like, they don't view Romanians as a specific identity. So when they say white, they basically mean
skin
all
color.
Europeans. Yeah,
like
they mean all Europeans are the same. Like for them, if a German invents something or a Romanian invents something, is the same thing. Or if a German does something bad or a Romanian does something bad, is the same.
Oh my god, this really it's fucking confusing because like.
Well, it's the same with Asians, right? Like, they don't make the distinction between Cambodians and Japanese.
Right, and we are totally fucking different. And Japanese, they colonize us too. You know what I mean? Like, they're French.
Yeah, I mean, one of them made anime and had an empire, and the other one.
Yeah, the other one is fucking good at dudes dressing as chicks and prostitutes.
Jesus Christ. Okay, let me find Apple diversity officer fired. And she was a black lady as well. Yeah,
really? Wow.
Yeah.
They fire a black chick. So
yeah, they fired a black chick because she had bad opinions. So
I mean, me and you, we kind of were in the POC gender, it's like we're in that category. I mean, we don't think alike. I mean, sure, we're having a conversation, but I'm pretty sure that we have disagreement as well. But you see what I'm trying to say? Like, I find it kind of fucking racist because you're assuming that I think like a fucking Cambodian. That's really
okay.
Like,
hold on. I'm sharing the screen, right? So
okay,
let me see if I can find the one. Urban Dictionary.
Have you been like searching for couches because that's your ad? And that's why.
Yes. I'm buying furniture. Yes. Okay. So just close the images here. So Apple's diversity chief out after outcry. Apparently, she only had 6 months on the job after causing an outcry by saying that being a minority or a woman are not the only criteria for diversity.
Right.
And she said there can be 12 white, blue-eyed, blonde men in a room, and they're going to be diverse too because they're going to bring different life experiences and life perspective to the conversation. And it kind of makes sense, because like what she's talking about is class difference. Because you can have like 12 white people that grew in different backgrounds. So, like class also matters, but like corporations don't want people to be class conscientious because class conscientiousness hurts their bottom line, can cause the new Occupy Wall Street, and that's the last fucking thing they want. So,
yeah, like I'm sure this is like this part of conspiracy theory, so I'm gonna act like Alex Jones right now. Like I feel like they're doing this identity politics is just to distract.
But it's not a conspiracy theory. Like they outright claim, like Whole Foods, for example, they got an app which talks about the likelihood of people unionizing in one of their stores. And an important aspect of it is diversity, right? And it's not diversity like if you have different people, it's the ideology that they bring. Uh-huh. So okay, just think about it this way. Coca-Cola recently was in a controversy because they said to their employees that they need to be less white. And you have to think about it. Yeah.
Less white.
Yeah. You got to think about it from the point of view of Coca-Cola, right? How do they benefit? Like, how do they make money by telling their employees this nonsense, right? Because they don't tell it to the public. They just told it to their employees and that leaked. And the reason is that it's a divide and conquer ideology. Like you're not going to unionize with another person that hates you. It's the same thing that they do in Californian prisons. They pit the prisoners against each other using race culture and gang culture, so that when they riot, they go at other prisoners rather than go towards the guards. Right.
And like even in prison, I mean, you go to your race. I mean, that you are. I don't know if you're Romanian, you go to prison here in America, you probably gonna end up with the Aryan people.
Oh, like no. Yeah, I mean, I looked at some. I looked at some prison channels, and they're really insightful. Like you get a lot of dudes from California. There's like this black dude, Big Herc, and he actually talks about how like you go in a prison, the neighborhood you're born in, and the gang if you're affiliated, like you gotta put work for them, and if you don't, they kill you.
Right.
So if you go to a prison and like you're, let's say, a white person and you don't go to the white gang, they shank you just like that. I mean, there's no discussion, there's no conversation, and it's the way it is.
Right. And it's just like that's pretty much what they're trying to do, like with the corporation and stuff like that, because they're trying to like, now this is like a class thing too. I mean, like I would get along with somebody who's like, same background, like poor and stuff like that, then I totally get it. But I don't get along, like, if to say that Asians will bring like this idea of an Asian perspective. I don't know what it's like to be a rich Asian. Like in San Diego, there's a lot of rich Cambodians. They don't know nothing. Like I'm not, I see they're Cambodian, sure, but I'm not going to get along with them like right away because they're fucking Cambodian. You know what I mean? It's just, I don't get it. It's so fucking stupid. And every time like I bring it up, I'm like, I'm seen like a bad person, but I don't see this idea of like to put like not hire a white guy because of the fact that he's a white guy
Yeah, you're basically robbing yourself from that, because like if you're not hiring based on merit and you're hiring on anything else, then you're getting anything else and you're not getting merit.
Right.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Labco92 says, know what? It was easier to just sign up on Patreon, $5 a month. Now dance, monkey dance. Stay awesome and hope the cat pulls through. The cat is actually doing much better. So thank you.
Yeah.
And aerodynamic, carry on, Count Chocula. Shout out to your guest from the Orange County, California, and to another.
Oh, nice. Orange County. Oh, Orange County is like, I think it's like Republican, I think.
Really?
They're not conservative or Republican, but they're like kind of free, you know.
You got Republicans in California?
Oh yeah, they're small, dude. They're like a little small minority. They could be can we diversify and put Republicans because they're minority? It's like, dude, it's like this whole thing is really fucked up, and it's gonna get. I don't know if it's gonna get worse or not. You know, I'm kind of like optimistic. Maybe I'm naive. I don't know.
I generally don't know where this is going to go.
You're in Romania, dude. You're lucky.
I mean, this shit is coming to Europe. It's not that I can consider myself like. I mean, Romania has other problems, but yeah, this is not one of them.
Yeah, you're.
But I still want to know that people are doing good. I mean, I get a lot of American subscribers, and I want to know that they're having a good life. You know, I don't like what happened to Texas. Really, you know, made me sad. Huh? Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I went through that shit. You know, like usually when something bad happens, I'm like, oh, I can't imagine how it's like. But with Texan, yeah, I can imagine how it's like because I grew up like that. Because the dear leader wanted to export everything. There were a lot of energy cuts and a lot of water shortages.
Right.
And yeah, you had to be in the middle of the winter with 3 jackets on indoors in order to keep yourself warm. And yeah, I mean, it's really horrible.
Yeah.
And you know, you get stories of people without water. You get stories with people without electricity. It's just like insane.
Yeah, it's like really I don't know if you know, there is a particular town in Romania where Ceausescu was like something it's underneath like Tosic, you know, like the whole city is underneath you guys look it up, it's really cool. It's like the church stands out, but like there it's just the city is just completely covered in like disaster. Like it's really sad. So it's really like for V got to go night night because he's old.
It's like, almost 2 a.m. now.
So good night, V. Thank you for streaming, and I thank you to your audience for listening to our little rant. We didn't even plan this. It's just me and V.
No, it's just yeah. I mean, anytime. It's just that you know it's different timetables, and it's kind of difficult to have you on.
Yeah, I know. And when I get to Nevada, I promise, because in Nevada I'm going to be more free than I do now. You know.
And by the way, there's this YouTuber Spoonie. I mean, fuck me. Okay, so this guy is tweeting on Twitter, and he said that he hasn't seen another human being for a month.
Damn.
And his house is covered in snow, and he can't get out. And
how come nobody's helping this guy? What the fuck?
Yeah. Like he says that the food delivery doesn't even go there. Like, you know, like I'm thinking, it's like, is this really? Like, are other people so foreign with snow? Like, you shouldn't allow your house to get entombed. I mean, the moment you have snow in front, you're supposed to go out and clean it, like shovel it.
Right.
I mean,
is he like old, or maybe he's old? Or
I mean, I don't know. I don't think he's old, but it's like in my country, we had entire villages, you know, covered by snow because it's like it happens often here. But like people dig tunnels from house to house. Like they keep in touch with their neighbors and they try to dig each other out. And like you literally have like an ant colony when these snows go higher than houses.
Yeah.
Like people just don't get entombed like it happened to Spoonie. And it's just like, oh, fuck, you know, like
that's
I hope
why
it's okay.
Like you should invest in a flamethrower of Elon Musk and just fucking use that shit and just blow that crap. I'm in California, so the weather's fantastic here, and I'm not saying that to be like a dick or anything like that, but I'm gonna be moving different states to a snowy. I'm gonna live up in the mountains, basically out.
Apparently, like people in Texas don't have snow and they don't understand it.
Oh yeah. I'm not really I don't like winter. I'm a fucking lizard.
Yeah, I hate it as well. My god, like the heating bill is the worst.
Dude, me too, dude. Like So V, thank you for so much for, you know.
Oh, thank you for being here.
Yeah, we're trying to be. Me and V has been trying to do this for like fucking months. You know, so we're hitting. You want to stream? Oh man, I'm at work. Oh, you want to stream?
Well, yeah,
no, I'm going to bed.
You asked me. Yeah, I mean, you asked me at 5 a.m. and it's like, no, I can't stream. And not to mention, like in this house, my fiance can hear like almost everything from this room.
Have you soundproof your house or what? Do I have to like?
I mean, I wanted to soundproof my room, but the problem is that I don't know if it keeps the sound from going out. Like I know it removes the echo, but I don't know if it like keeps the sound from exiting the room. And the second thing that I don't know is how much it will cost, because I think it's going to be expensive as fuck if I have like all those sponges on the wall and shit.
Yeah, well, let me know, man. I'm totally down. I have all these sponges in the fucking. Like I said, I'm gonna be like I'll have my own studio and stuff like that in Nevada, so I'll be more available. Yeah, totally. Donate to V.
Thank you for being here. Yeah, thank you for being here.
Donate to V if so he can put his little sponge.
Yeah, and Hagnar, I'm not going to delete the stream. And thank you, Rusta, for the super chat. Thank you all, and have a nice night.
All right, guys. All right, bye.